In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful, my dear students, I welcome you to the next lecture of research methodology. And the topic for our today's lecture is ethics of research. Ethics of research are actually the ethics which a researcher has to follow while conducting research. There are several kinds of research ethics which a researcher must follow while conducting his research. It's a very wide topic. Here I have selected some points to share with you so that you may have a very good idea about the ethics of research, or as a researcher when you would be conducting your research for MPhil thesis, for producing your MPhil thesis, you have to follow these ethics while conducting your research. First of all, first point is harm. Second is about informed consent. Third is confidentiality. And the next is deception. And then reporting results and plagiarism. These are the major issues in which we have to follow the ethics. First of all, harm. As mentioned before, researchers should take every precautions to ensure that participants are not subjected to undue harms or stress. Means whenever you are conducting research, you are collecting data. For example, you are conducting a survey research and you have to collect data through questionnaires. You cannot harm anybody. You should not, your participants of research should not be under stress of any kind. Means you cannot force them to fill the questionnaire. Ethically, it's wrong. So while conducting research, the subjects or participants should not be subjected to harm or stress. Harm and discomfort can take many forms. Can be physical, for example injury; emotional, for example stress; social, for example loss of social support; or financial, loss of wages; or ethical. Means harm can be of any kind. It can be psychological harm. Means if you force someone to participate in the study and to fill the questionnaire or give you interview or participate in the discussion, that would be wrong. That would be ethically wrong. You cannot harm anybody physically or emotionally or morally or psychologically. So you have to take care of other people. If they want to participate in the study, they would. And if they don't want to participate in the study, you cannot force them or you can blackmail them. Researchers must use strategies to minimize all types of harm and discomfort, even ones that are temporary. So it is the duty of a researcher to use different strategies to minimize all types of harm and discomfort of any kind. So it's the duty of researcher morally to make the subjects or participants comfortable who are taking part in your study. You should not harm them in any way. You should not leak their personal information. You have to take care of their respect, their honor. Let's move to the next point. Informed consent. This is the second point in research ethics or ethics of research. Informed consent. Voluntary informed consent is essential for research involving human subjects. Means you have to first take consent of the participants. If they allow you to conduct study, then you can conduct study over there. For example, if you are collecting data from a school, say for example you are conducting an experimental study and you want to collect data from a class, you have to take consent of the students, their parents, as well as their teachers and school principal or head. If they allow you to conduct your study over there, then you can collect data from there. According to the APA, informed consent should include description of the nature of the research. When you are taking consent, when you are taking permission from the institution head or from the person who is participating in the research, you would inform him about the nature of research, that what kind of research you are going to conduct there and what would be the consequences and how you would be using the results. And would you be careful about the privacy of the content or not? So you have to inform them about the nature of the research. Then statement that the research is voluntary and participants can withdraw at any time. So you have to make a written statement on which it would be written that this research is voluntary and participants can withdraw at any time if they do not feel comfortable or if they do not want to participate in the study. At any stage they can withdraw and you would not force them to participate or complete the study. Say for example, if somebody says that I have some emergency, I want to leave, I do not want to participate in the study, or I do not want to fill the questionnaire or participate in the interview, then you cannot force them. Identification of risks and benefits. As a researcher, it's your ethical responsibility that you had to identify the risks and benefits. You have to inform the people who are participating in the research about the risk and benefits. Description of how confidentiality will be protected. You have to describe in advance that how their personal information would be kept confidential, and it would be used only for research purpose, not for any other purpose. So for example, you are conducting a research to collect data about someone's income. Then people would be reluctant to inform you or give you the right data, the correct data, due to the fear of income tax. So you would give a consent, written consent, that these results would be used only for research purpose, not for any other purpose, or the information would be kept confidential and it would not be shared with anyone else besides this research. And the identity of the participants would be kept secret or confidential. Description of compensation. Then you have to give a description of compensation, and then description of what information researchers will share with participants. When you are taking consent or willingness of institution or person who is participating in the research study, you have to share in advance about the information, what information researcher will share with participants. Identification of who is responsible for research with contact information. So you as a researcher have to share your identification with the institution or with the participants who are participating in your study. And you have to share your contact information as well, so that if they want to contact you, they can contact you anytime. Next point is confidentiality. It's very important issue in research. All information collected in a research project should remain confidential. This is the first and important rule when you are conducting research, when you are collecting data, when you are collecting data from someone or from some institution for research purpose. The privacy of data should be safeguarded. The data should be kept confidential. the information should only be used for research purpose, not for any other purpose. Participants should be assigned a compliant code. Data should be locked away in a secure setting. An electronic database should also be protected. What do you do if you dump into a research participant in Walmart? So whatever data you have collected, you have to keep it confidential in your system so that no third party should have access to this data, so that they may not use that data for in a negative way or against the interest of the participant in any way. So the confidentiality of the data is the most important responsibility at part of the researcher when he is conducting research or when he is collecting data. Next point is plagiarism. It comes from the Latin word meaning to kidnap or to copy. Plagiarism is actually copying the materials, copying the ideas from someone else. If you get information from someone else, you should acknowledge it. You should give a proper reference. But if you do not give a proper reference and you take someone's idea, you steal someone's idea and you represent it as your own, it would be the theft of ideas. And this type of thing is called plagiarism or copying of ideas. Examples of plagiarism are copying someone else's words without proper citation, stealing someone else's ideas, stealing someone else's intellectual property. Bottom line is cite sources properly and minimize quotations in research report. So this is the end of research ethics. This topic is covered, and now we have some time left and we can start another topic. So the next topic which we are starting is the importance of literature review. In the previous online interactive session, some of the students asked questions about literature review. Why literature review is important? Why should we review the literature? And what are the steps of literature review? So let's review it. What is literature review? Creswell gave a definition of literature review in 2005. According to Creswell, a review of literature is a written summary of journal articles, books, and other documents that describe the past and current state of information, organizes the literature into topics and documents a need for a proposed study. So literature review is actually a summary of journals and books, already existing information about the topic. And in the end, the purpose of literature review is to identify the gap in research and to identify why your study is important, why the proposed study is needed. What is the space of your study, your topic, in the already existing literature? So literature review actually provides a platform. Literature review is the presentation, classification, and evaluation of what other researchers have written on particular subject. So by reviewing the literature, we are actually looking at the research of other researchers on the similar topic or the same topic. And from their mistakes, we learn and we try to avoid those mistakes, and whatever they have suggested, we follow those suggestions. We can also review the research methods which are used by the researchers who have already done research in the similar topic, and what are the data analysis tools and procedures which they have followed for conducting their research. So literature review actually provides you a proper path through which you can conduct your own research in your own style by following and looking at others' experience or work. The review of literature is defined as a broad, comprehensive, in-depth, systematic and critical review of scholarly publications, unpublished scholarly print materials, audiovisual materials and personal communications. So when you are writing the literature review, when you are reviewing the literature, you can review the publications, scholarly publications or unpublished scholarly print materials. For example, if somebody has conducted research on the similar topic and he has conducted MPhil or PhD thesis on that, you can and he has not yet published from there, you can get material from there. You can use different journals like Elsewhere journals available online. You can take materials available online. Merriam 1988 defined literature review as an interpretation and synthesis of published works. So literature review in Merriam's point of view is an interpretation and synthesis of published work, the work which is already published. Researcher with a new look interprets that research, that literature which is already existing, and tries to make space for his own study. The purpose of making his own study significant is to enhance the significance of his own topic, his own study, so that with the help of literature review, he informs the audience that his study is important and how his study or his research fills the gap in already existing literature, and why it was important to conduct study on this topic. Next, there are 3 stages at which a review of literature is needed. Number 1, an early review, which is done before conducting research, which is done in the initial stages. And second is review during the period of your research. When you are conducting your study, during conducting your research, you review the literature. What other researches are reported during that time when you are working on your research or your thesis. Number 3, review at the stage of preparing your final report. When you are preparing your final report, then you have to review again, so that if somebody has conducted some research and they have published the results in some journals online, you can give the references of those works, so that the latest research should be added in your literature review to make it more important. Creswell gave 5 steps to conduct a literature review. Let's talk about them in detail. Step number 1 is identify key terms. Creswell said that first, researcher has to identify the key terms. How he would identify the key terms? He would extract keywords from the title. Remember, you may decide to change the title later. So Whatever you have selected the title for your research, you have to explain each and every term used in the title as keywords. And later on you can rephrase the research topic. To identify key terms, use thesaurus or ERIC. So when you are identifying key terms or important words, you can use thesaurus, which gives different definitions and meanings of single word. The site address is, here is the site address of ERIC. Identifying key terms. Familiarize yourself with online databases. Using relevant databases. Start with general terms from database, thesaurus. Redefine your topic if needed. Identify landmark or classic studies and theorists. There are several databases available online. There are different search engines as well, which you can use in your study when you are conducting your research, when you are especially identifying the key terms. Step 2 is locate literature. Use academic libraries. Do not limit your search to an electronic search of articles. So you should not be limited to the articles available online. You can also use the libraries which have book banks, and in the book banks, theses of MPhil and PhD are available. You can take those theses and you can give reference and material from there with acknowledgement. So do not rely on only online available materials, but also visit the libraries to get better knowledge. Use primary and secondary sources. A primary source is research reported by the researcher that conducted the study. A secondary source is research that summarizes or reports findings that come from primary sources. To make your study more important, more significant, you should use primary and secondary, both type of sources. Primary source is when the researcher is conducting research by himself. Say for example, you are going for field work. You are going and meeting the participants, you are getting the questionnaires filled from them, you are interviewing people, you are conducting discussions to collect data, to collect the first-hand knowledge from the participants after meeting them. That kind of research is the primary research or primary sources of data collection. And secondary sources are, you review the summaries of reports, or you review other people's thesis, or the papers already published in different journals, you review them, you get data from there. That is the secondary source. So when you are writing a literature review, second step is locate literature. Wherever the literature is available, you have to identify that, you have to go there, you have to collect the data from there in the best possible manner. It is best to report mostly primary sources. It is best to report mostly primary sources. So researchers say that the primary data or the primary sources are more reliable, because as a researcher, you are conducting research and you are collecting data by yourself. You are not relying on someone else's conducted data, because you do not know how and in what circumstances he has collected the data. So primary data or primary sources is the best way to collect the data. Search different types of literature. Summaries, there are different types of literature available which you can search and you can get material from there, and that is also a kind of secondary data. Means there may be literature summaries, means the results somebody has shared in the form of a research paper published online, And then there are encyclopedias and dictionaries and glossaries of terms and handbooks for detailed knowledge and explanation of different terms, statistical indexes, reviews and synthesis, books, journals, indexed publications, electronic sources, abstract series, and databases. So you have to collect data according to the nature of your research. What type of data you need, you can access that type of literature and you can use it in the best possible way. Step 3 is critically evaluate selected literature. Whatever literature you have selected, you have to critically evaluate it, whether it is relevant or not, and is it supporting your topic or not. So you have to critically evaluate the selected literature. Rely on research journal articles published in national journals, so that the data should be standard and reliable. Prioritize your research. First look for refereed journal articles, then non-refereed journal articles, then books, then conference papers, dissertations and theses, and then paper posters to websites. The most reliable source from where one can get data for his research is the journals which are refereed journals or impact factor journals. Or in Pakistan, we have X or Y category journals which are recognized by HEC. So standard journal and impact factor journals or X or Y category journals, W, X and Y category journals are really good journals. And if you give reference of the paper published in those journals, it would be more reliable. After that, you can take material from books and then conference papers. Conference papers are like as we participate in the conference for oral presentation and we present our paper over there in front of the audience at national and international level, and those papers are published in the proceedings of the conferences. So we can take materials from those conference papers. Dissertations and thesis. You can take material from dissertation and thesis of MPhil and PhD or MA, which are available in different libraries of different universities, and then paper posted to websites. You can take materials from websites as well, but be careful, the material which you are taking, it should be standard and reliable. It should not be non-standard or views of someone. Look for research articles and avoid as much possible opinion pieces. So avoid such kind of material which is the opinion of someone or somebody has written answer to something. Try to take material which is more standard and reliable, that is published in the journals, impact factor journals. Blend qualitative and quantitative research in your review. Whenever you are writing the literature review, you should give references of qualitative as well as quantitative research in the literature review. Means some researcher has conducted study on the similar topic and he used qualitative research method, or somebody has used quantitative research method. You have to mention both types of research methods used by researchers in the previous studies when you are writing about the literature review for your thesis. How to read research article critically. An appreciation of strength, weakness and limitations. Say for example, you have a research article in your hand which is very much relevant to your topic. What you would do with it? You have to first of all identify research aim or questions. What are the research questions of that research paper or that researcher. After that, you have to look at the nature, the type of study. What type of study is this? What is the nature of research? Is it a qualitative research or a quantitative research? Then identify ontological position, epistemological and methodological assumptions. As researchers value position explicit. Identify location, date sample method used. So as a researcher, whenever you have a piece of writing, you have a research paper in your hand which is relevant to your research, you have to first identify the objectives of research, then research questions, and then what type of research method is used, and then what type of software is used to analyze the data, what were the results. You have to analyze all these things and you have to report them in your report when you are writing your literature review. So time's up for this class today. I'm ending my class here, and we would be studying in the next lecture. We would continue from here. Thank you so much, class. Take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz. Have a good day.